Hi, and welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Eric, joined once again by Bevan. We're finishing up the Pantyhose Strangler storyline from 1974 to 75 on number 96, episode 670. Did I say the numbers already? I don't even remember. 674 to
Uh,
680.
yeah, 674 to 680.
I already thought I said it. Anyway, Tommy can roll the credits and we'll chat. All right. So a lot happened in these 7 episodes. Well, a lot, but a little at the same time with these episodes. So you said that so the aftermath continues just what happens after it's all come
680.
out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Does like major things happen, or is it just like
I've only ever really watched that one through, I think, once, so
mhm.
I can't remember everything.
Oh, good. So it'll be fun to watch with you again at some point.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, we have it starts out with episode 674. Vera and Andy are on. They get the call from Harry, which was like left over from the last episode.
Yeah,
Um, and they're really not seen again in this episode. That was like it.
yeah.
So
So
I,
like, it's sort of still left up in the air from like the last episode cliffhanger and stuff. It's sort of, I think it plays out, I think, in maybe the next episode or the one after.
yeah,
But
it's the next
yeah,
one,
I can sort of understand why as well that I didn't directly remember last time that this part of Harry's story played out over these episodes because he doesn't actually appear. It's all sort of in the background.
right? Um, so I'm doing it a little different. I have like clumps of storyline. I didn't like go page by page. Or whatever. So I have Flo and Dory. They're trying to do this grocery type business for people.
The
Um
like the little sort of like service, like the little sort of like babysitting slash everything type service thing that they're doing.
yeah, well the delivery service they're trying to
Yeah.
do, which is actually like Instacart, which we have today. So
Oh yeah.
who who knew that Instacart started with them in Australia in 1975? Um so we have that. We have um I think I have Herb said something about a fly strangling people at one point, like he was making a funny, and Dory like went
Oh
off
yeah.
on him.
Yeah. 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 It was
I
like
think he just likes to get
yeah.
her going, I feel like.
I think half the time he does too. It's not like it's hard. I mean, she
Yeah,
carries on with everything. I love Dory though.
she is very fun. I do like Dory a lot. Um, like when she's not there, she's definitely missed because she does
Yeah.
bring that a good element to the show. Um, Les and Norma, they just talk about Harry being alive. They talk about Vera, like she had gone to the police station. So they kind of like tell her storyline, even though
Yeah.
she's not in the rest of the episode.
Yeah, yeah. And it does make contextual sense because she'd been down at the police station the whole time, but it all does sort of get carried through dialogue and exposition through other characters.
Yeah. And they talk about like the killer. I think Don talks about like possibly Dudley being framed for the murders.
Well,
With the
the Lorelei picture
okay,
was already there, but like it was
right.
like he sort of doesn't really understand like the how the other pictures of the other victims got into his wallet sort of thing. And well, this is also part of a bit of that misdirect that plays out as well because Don's kind of like weirdly ambiguous about Dudley as well. Like it's all a bit odd the way it's playing out.
Yeah, this was really odd to me too, because I'm like, what is happening with Don and I
It
don't
makes
know.
sense later,
Dudley,
but yeah,
I mean they pushed Dudley so hard. I feel like you'd be dumb to think it was him at this point. Like it was
yeah,
just like from day episode one, I think, in this um batch of episodes as the
yeah,
killer, because they were just like he disappeared and of course he's lying. I like I felt like they tried too hard. Um,
Yeah,
it would have been nice to have been shown like other options of people. Like it could have been anyone. Where I feel like it was usually him or Michael. I feel like were set up to be the
well,
killers.
it's just because they already narrowed it down to someone in the building, so obviously it was going to be those characters, sort of thing, just one of those
Right.
characters. But yeah,
But yeah. So I have oh, he burnt the pics too, by the way, which doesn't help his case any.
no, no,
Especially when you tell people, like, don't tell anyone. Like, if you burn them, if you don't say anything, nobody will know.
yeah,
Whatever. But he does tell Don. Les, I think he said the same thing to Les, and he's the one that fills the detective in on it, or the sergeant. Um, Lucy, Alf, Tracy, and Arnold are all hanging around. I have brings up Patty. Oh yeah, they're at dinner together. He brings up Patty, or Tracy does, and then he ends up like leaving, and Lucy goes to console him. Um, Dory comes by and checks on him and kind of makes things worse in a way. She's like, "Oh, he's an orphan already. Apparently, he lost his parents. He's never had like a mother's love." She says, I'm like,
just yeah,
I
just like
mean, she,
listing the
yeah, I
dramas.
mean, she does say it to Lucy and not him, so I guess that's good.
Yeah,
Um, Alf and Lucy are taking care of the arrangements for Patty, which is nice. Um, the detective or the sergeant questions Lucy about the keys. There's always talking about these keys. I thought the keys were gonna like be a bigger deal, but I guess they really weren't, even though they always talk about the keys. Like who has how many keys and all this stuff. Um, and Arnold is going to Perth
yeah,
for a while, I guess.
yeah. Like it's like a trip away. Like I think there's like family, I know family or friends there, something like that. Because I couldn't remember the characters' names that they mentioned, but
Right.
yeah,
And then we had the funeral, which is like kind of a normal funeral.
yeah.
Dory,
I did happen to
Dory,
laugh though, because it's like a scene where you see them like lowering the casket, but it's so rickety. I was like, man, that body's about to fall out of there. Like,
yeah, right. Well, that's probably why it was rickety. There was probably nothing in it, so it was probably
yeah,
like moving a lot.
yeah. Don't those like
Um,
don't they have hinges? I don't know, but like,
um, Dory, when she gets back from the funeral, she says something like Frank. I don't know who Frank is. I don't know if we knew him, but she's like, "Oh, Frank's funeral was much better than that one." Like anybody ever says like her funeral is better than another.
I think it's just
Although
something she knew.
I have had like better funerals than others, but I mean. Then all of a sudden Dudley's MIA, which doesn't look good.
No,
Um, and then the sergeant comes and there's a warrant for Dudley's arrest, and that's all I have for that episode.
well, those were all the major points, and like
Yeah.
my yeah, those were all the sort of yeah.
675. We have Vera, that Harry's death thing. She's talking to Andy, I think, in the beginning.
Yeah,
Um,
so like they explain, so it sort of turns out that the big painting heist that she sort of was having visions of and like all that sort of stuff, and like how the cops sort of thought that she might have been involved with the thefts, and apparently that was Harry.
oh,
So
okay, I
Harry
didn't
was
get
with
that.
yeah, so they explain like Vera's explains it, like it's a bit long-winded, but yeah, so like Harry's essentially, so Harry got mugged and his
Oh
ID
yeah, yeah.
stolen, and that was who was in the car accident.
That was in the
So they,
car,
through
yeah.
the ID, they presumed, death. That was him. But when Harry heard about it, he's just kind of like gone with it and ended up like getting involved with some like white collar crime group that was like
Right.
basically doing stuff like that, heisting
Oh, that
paintings.
Harry. Yeah. Um, and oh, I think yeah, Lucy. I think. Oh no, she's talking to Lucy. I think in the beginning of that, or at some
Hmm.
point. And they mention the Vera. Vera had the Marilyn nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because they're talking about the
and
visions and everything like that, and like, yeah.
and she says like she saw who the killer was, but she wouldn't say it because she's like, oh, it's just ridiculous. I'm like, your shit's been coming true, and Lucy is even harassing her about this, and Lucy believes all of her dreams, which I'm like, I don't blame her. I'd probably be the same way,
Well, at this point
you
though,
know?
like it seems like it's like fobbed off, but it does play out later.
Hmm. Yeah. So, um, the delivery service continues with Flo and Herb and all that stuff. Les dresses up like a woman
Yeah,
to,
so that was
to be a
yeah, so
nanny.
through it all, Dory gets invited to this like fancy like luncheon with one of their clients, and she wants to go to that, but she's already promised babysitting duties. And so Les's brilliant idea was to
Yeah.
dress up like her and basically imitate her. And yeah, so it's just
It's funny.
ridiculous, but it works apparently.
Apparently. Alf bumps into him later and like lifts his dress, which I thought was pretty funny. From
Yeah,
the front too. I'm
Alf,
like, damn, Alf.
yeah, Alf's just chucking shit at him, like it was funny.
It was. Um, so Don, Sergeant, and Carol, I think, are around each other at some point. Vera, does Vera say something about them deliberately making Dudley look guilty?
Yeah,
Somebody
so
says that.
she doesn't believe that Dudley would do it, essentially, and that she thinks that someone's like setting him up. Like she doesn't really need she's because she like hears like the updates and everything like that, and she just sort of doesn't believe that Dudley would do it.
Yeah, and everybody's like, everybody's talking about it since he's missing. They're like, he had to do it. Like, I mean, these people are so quickly to turn on each other. It's pretty funny.
Well, it's more like they were sort of talking about it. So like they sit there and go like, yeah, but if you leave, that's kind of suspicious, blah blah blah. And because there's an actual warrant out for his arrest at this point, so he's a fleeing criminal. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, he absconded. That's like that's against the law.
And Tracy and Andy are together and they seem happy. They like just banged or whatever. And Arnold basically says he's gonna move in until Arnold gets back.
Yeah, so like Tracy's sort of sitting there going on about how she sort of probably would have like like tried to have moved on already, but she feels bad for Arnold and wants to be there for him. And then she's sort of glad that Andy's there, and Andy sort of offers to sort of stay until Arnold gets back.
And then I got a little nervous because we got a new character introduction named Tanya,
Well, she was
who
in
kind of
the last batch of episodes. She was the little one, and she was in the booth in the last batch of episodes, talking like she does in these episodes.
oh, she was. You know what? I honestly didn't pay her any mind in those episodes because I totally forgot about her. She wasn't
Well, I
one of
don't
the
think it's
girls that Dudley had, right?
no, no, no. She was one of the ones that they served, and she was with two other blokes. But like, that's what I mean. Like, you're not supposed to sort of pay
Oh,
attention to her exactly. It was like I think her first episode. So, but
okay.
yes, Tanya.
So yeah, she's very funny. Um, she also said something like I don't know what this means. Something like Australians are such bushes to the
Uh,
bar gang. What does that mean? Is that
I don't know.
something?
I don't know unless it was Butch or something. Unless she meant Butch. I mean, I guess it was supposed to be rugged down here or something. I don't know.
I wasn't sure if it
Um,
was something I like Australian that I should know or something.
no, I don't think so. Because like, yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, so you
It's
don't
not
know
like a
either.
colloquialism or anything.
It could have been a term in the 70s that maybe you're
Yeah,
unaware of, which is good.
absolutely, absolutely.
So since she stole the show from me, I had to look her up a little bit. So her name is Natalie Moscow. In real life, she's actually from New York, New York. She was born in New York City, New York. She's 74 years old. She's still around. She played Tanya. It said for 70 something episodes on there, but you never know like uh exactly how many on IMDb.
Mm.
She has 17 credits. Her last thing was a movie called Zoo in 1999.
Don't remember it often.
She's a real estate agent now as well. She looks great, by the way. If you look her up, it's crazy. She looks great
Does she
for her
still live in
74.
Australia, or is she gone back to the US?
I don't know. I think she's back in the US because I think she actually lives in New York because she had just done she does Broadway theater still in um like little bit parts, I guess, like whenever
Yeah,
she feels like it. Because I
that
looked
sounds
on her
good.
thing, I looked on BroadwayWorld.com and it had like a list of a few things. Just one was last year, a theater that she did in New York. So I'm guessing she's a real estate agent in New York.
Oh, that's
But and
awesome.
also, yeah, right? That's pretty cool. So she's still active. Anywho, that's all I
Tanya
have
is
for that.
awesome. Tanya is awesome.
Yeah, she stole
Unfortunately,
the
like,
show for me in these episodes.
so she does feature prominently in like the aftermath of murder arc stuff, like
Okay,
those episodes.
I figured
But
she was coming up.
if she only did about 70 episodes, then that's probably just a little under half of her episodes are in there. So
Yeah,
we don't actually see the in the episodes that we'll cover. We don't actually see the like the conclusion to her story, but I'll make sure to like bridge the gap between aftermath and the bomb. So
okay. Sounds good. So episode 676. Um, I have Vera saw the murderer in her dream. This, I guess, because I think it ended with that as well. Um,
yeah, it ended with a nightmare. It ended with Vera like flipping out on the couch and having a nightmare.
yeah,
But the viewer's not privy to this dream sequence. We're only privy to the other ones. That other
yeah.
one.
Lucy says to go to the police, and Vera's like, I can't really go to the police. I don't believe it. They don't believe it. Whatever. And
Yeah,
she, again, she doesn't say who the killer is for some reason. Um, I think it's a good idea to mention it, like in case maybe like that person's acting funny. Like, I don't know.
yeah,
I
yeah,
question, I question Vera sometimes with some things. Um, Mommy seems to be having a great time without Daddy. Tanya looks for a job. She goes to Frida to get something or whatever at the store. Frida's like, oh, well, you can work here. And she comes back later and she's like, yeah, sure. Um, the delivery service is wearing Herb and Flo out. They're like passing out on the sofa at one point. Um, I almost feel like they're a throuple. Like they're like the
yeah,
first throuple that's like in TV. Because the way they're like sitting is like a couple, and like Dory doesn't think anything of it, and it just kind of cracked me up. Um, Lucy tells Michael that she believes Vera's dream, and she tells him like what the dream's about, whatever.
mm.
Daddy returns. Dory is disturbed by him leaving. She like has this whole thing. If he left me, I would have done this and that, and she just goes off
Yeah, like
about
this
it.
hilarious rant. So the mummy and daddy thing, it is a very weird storyline, but
Hmm.
essentially, yeah, it was like, oh, so Miss Bullock propositioned him, and he's like said no, but because him and Edith are having like connective issues, like intimacy issues, like or she's neglecting her duties,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
he like pissed off for a week to teach her a lesson or some nonsense. And she's just like, a lesson about what, daddy? How am I supposed to learn a lesson if I didn't know what I was supposed to be learning? Like, and you just sort of think, dude, why are you doing this? This woman is not capable of understanding what you're, just tell her what you want, bro. Like,
I
and
don't
it's all
even
very
know.
weird.
I don't even know if that'll work because Marilyn told her. Like, this woman just ain't getting it.
And then
I
when
just
she
don't know.
finally does get, and then when she finally does get it, and that like and all that, and accepts that he's back. She's like, oh no, but you still went off with Mrs. Bullock. And Marilyn's like, no, mummy, we checked, sort of thing. Daddy was at the hotel, like blah blah blah. And it's
Yeah,
just, it was such a weird, stupid, like
it is weird.
they're a weird
Very
couple.
weird.
Like, and even the other
Very
characters, like when
weird.
she's explaining it to other people, like she explains a moment. I think it. She explains it to Dudley, and he's just like, "Oh, it makes total sense, love." Like, and he's just like, "What the?" Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how probably how I would have handled it as well. Um,
Well,
Dory
she tells him
sees
about it in a later episode because Dudley's not back at this point. But yes.
Herb goes to the store that Tanya is working at, and just like she's like, "Oh, I love bald guys" or whatever, and she just starts rubbing his head, and Dory, of course, is passing the store at the same moment.
That's right, because
And
like Tanya ends up running into Frida and like hits her up, and she ends up deciding to work there. And Tanya's supposed to
yeah,
be sort of like the plucky cashier that sort of draws customers in and stuff. So,
yeah,
but this is also just contextually, this is also where we see Tanya and her interactions with a few characters while sort of Frida's aware of her, like watching. And it happens, within the next couple of scenes that she's always got these big stories, like she's escaping from like mid east, like the
yeah,
mid eastern Europe, and then she's going to South America, and like all this insane sort of stuff. And
yeah. It's
yeah,
really
yeah,
funny. And then of course Dory heads in. She calls her a hussy and all kinds of other things, and she
of
goes off on
course,
her. And she goes off on Frida for hiring her.
yeah,
And she's mad at Herb for even going in there because she wasn't supposed to go in there anymore since she's the one that got fired from there at one
yeah.
point. Um, Mommy tells Daddy he has to get questioned by the sergeant, and Daddy's like, "Why? I didn't do it." Probably because, of everything that she said that made him look suspicious.
And he's been missing for like a
Um,
week.
yeah, yeah, which wasn't good. And then we find out Michael and Marilyn got married out of nowhere.
Yes. Yeah, they sort of pop that in there, and it's like, we got married. And then
Yeah,
dun dun.
that's all I got for that one. Um, so 677, Daddy's not pleased that they got married. Mommy is very happy that they got married.
Yeah.
Dory is boycotting Frida's store. Um, Frida mentions to, I think, somebody at the store.
I think it was to Alf. And she's like, oh, don't worry about
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, she does that stuff.
it.
Marilyn and Michael celebrate their marriage with Andy and Mommy as well. And we find out that Andy and Vera sold their horse finally, which I thought they sold already, but I guess they didn't. Because
No, I
they've
think they
been
were
talking about it for like 10 episodes.
they were looking at selling it, but they had to like that was after they were started talking about it after they got now that all the possible doping charges and everything like that are done.
Yeah. Um, Tracy is afraid that Peter is the killer, and she tells that to Vera.
Yeah. and feels that
And
um and feels that like because Patty was killed, that he thought it was like that Tracy was the intended victim because she'd already survived one.
right, um, Mommy says call oh Mommy says to Michael that she has to call or he has to call Daddy now, and Daddy's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah,
That cracks me up. Vera's having like severe pains. It looks like maybe stomach pain, abdominal pain. Could be anything. It's like in this area.
yeah, and then she sort
Um,
of starts crumpling over and collapses.
yeah, poor
Alf
thing.
ends up coming across her as she's sort of struggling to get out of her flat.
Yeah, that was very smart of the killer to do that.
Yeah,
Um, Tracy tells Marilyn about the dream that Vera had. That included her.
Yeah, it was sort of
Uh,
by accident type thing because Marilyn comes in talking about like how happy she was to be married with to Michael and all that, and
yeah.
Tracy sort of like inadvertently sort of brings it up.
Al fills Andy in on what Michael did to him and Lucy, and then we find out that Vera was poisoned in the end,
Yes.
which I wasn't really sure what was
Yeah,
happening.
as when we get to the reveal, when we get to the reveal, there is a scene earlier in that very episode that is the reason why they set it up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I was watching. I've been suspecting Tracy since she supposedly got murdered or was attempted murdered, whatever. Um, didn't fool me. Episode 678. Les decides he wants to be a nanny.
He just seems
Dress
to.
up
He's
to
just.
be a
It's
nanny.
just the Mrs. Doubtfire thing. Like he seems listening that he can pass off as a woman, and it's just so stupid. And like, yeah,
It
it's
is, but
stupid.
it's really funny. I like it.
Yes, it's hilarious, but it's
Um,
stupid. Yeah.
it is. It's silly for sure.
Oh, and is that part? Is this the part where he answers the door to his mother-in-law?
That's yeah, it comes up soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny too. That
Yes.
mother, she's annoying. I feel like it's where they make like all their parents like the most annoying people ever. So
So she doesn't stay for the all of the episodes in Aftermath of Murder or anything, but she is in quite a few, and I think she ends up, from what I remember, she ends up becoming a bit looser. She's still haughty, but she's looser,
mm,
if I remember. But still leaves saying the same things that she does. Like I'll expect this the next time. But it's
oh
light.
geez.
I
We
think.
find out that Vera nearly died from the poison. Um, Don sees Dudley. He goes to Dudley's, and you're just like, this show is just like so clippy, and you're just like, what, like, what is happening? And it like leaves you hanging constantly.
So like it just doesn't explain everything to you. You've got to sort of
Right,
follow it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if you like get up to go to the bathroom, like, and you can't pause it, like, you would have no idea what's happening if you miss like a few seconds. Because it literally was like a few seconds. Um, the sergeant questions everybody about Vera because he's trying to figure out, what happened to her or who poisoned her.
Yeah.
Dory, Dory flips when she finds out about Vera. She's very upset.
Yes. Why wasn't I told?
Yeah. Norma tells. I like how Norma doesn't like care what Les does. Like I feel like she doesn't mention even when he dresses up like a woman, she don't give
I
two
think she's
fucks.
kind of just used to it. He's always doing something like she's just used to it. Like,
Right. It's pretty funny though, because you would like she seems like the more kind of serious character, like I guess out of that duo. Um, so she tells the sergeant the killer may have found out about Vera's dream, so that's probably why that she got poisoned.
yeah. So he's like, well, Vera. Oh, so did she tell you about the dream, Sergeant? Yes, she did, and she did tell me who the killer was. So like, he's sort of hinting that he's sort of like hinting already a little bit there. He's like, but I don't really believe in dreams, sort of thing, and sort of like doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Lucy and Alf ask Don about Dudley. They're like questioning him, like, do they think he did it or whatever, or where is he at and stuff like that. Norma's
Yeah.
mom comes. She actually thinks that Les is a woman at first because he answers as like with his wig on and stuff.
And then she's like, Leslie.
Um, sh yeah, she tells Norma her brother is marrying. Oh, her mom. And that she's going to move in because she doesn't want to live with the lower class woman that the brother's marrying.
Yeah. Meanwhile, she was married to a publican anyways. Like, like she's just a little bit like, champagne tastes and a beer wage.
Yeah. Dory has Herb test her tea to prove that he didn't poison Vera, I guess.
Yeah, she's just being like overly cautious and gives everybody a lecture. And she's like, and then Flo's like, oh, come on now, Dory. And she's like, no, no, Flo. Now we know that this tea has not been poisoned, and stuff, thanks to Herbert. Just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
And Herb's just like, what? Like he was the guinea pig for
Yeah.
the testing. It cracks me up. Don flips out after people won't stop talking about like the killer and Dudley and all that. It's just getting to him. And we find out, why pretty soon, I think. Um, the luggage arrives for the mom, the mother-in-law, Norma's mother.
Yeah, Norma's
Um,
mother.
and there's no room in that apartment as it is. So I'm like, good Lord. Reminds me of my situation.
Yeah.
Um, Lucy questions Carol about Don because Don's been acting suspicious, disappearing as well, and stuff like that.
Carol hasn't been in too much of the episodes just because she's
Hmm.
also kind of, they just sort of say later that she's kind of just been sort of sad and pining away over Brad. Brad? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in
Um,
there because we haven't really mentioned her for a little bit.
yeah, she's just randomly on and she's not on very long. So we find out that the sergeant hid Dudley to get closer to the murderer because they know who the murderer is.
Yeah, so
And
it's
I'm like,
essentially like taking
I
him out
don't
of
know
play.
I don't know how they figured it out because I feel like there was no clues really given their way besides these freaking keys.
So it was like the key thing, and the key thing became apparent when they had their suspect because she had access to all the areas in question. And
Mm,
what was it? So what was it? Well, anyway, we'll get to that. But yeah, no. So Dudley's been hidden away. Well, he's not really hidden.
okay.
Hidden. He's just like staying at another hotel, like away from everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because what was it? Uh, they ended up finding like they ended up hearing about Vera's dream and her poisoning is like what's sort of set it off. Really, is like okay, so we've already kind of had an idea, and now this has happened. Yeah, we've sort
yeah,
of got to move. Dudley, it's convenient that Dudley just has the pictures, just stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. So episode 679, Mommy and Marilyn made dinner and they made it with furniture polish.
Yes, well, Marilyn did it.
Yeah, it was
Yes,
in the liquor. I guess there was some kind of liquor involved with
so it's
the.
supposed to be a brandy. It was. She thought it was brandy, but the brandy bottle had uh uh what was it? Furniture polish or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Dudley returns. He talks to the gang.
Yeah.
Um,
And they sort
Sergeant
of palm it
goes.
off. They just sort of say, "Oh no," they sort of don't make a big deal about it. They're just like, "No, no, no. They found that there's no evidence against me. Like it's been dropped. Blah blah blah. Like I sorted that out."
Yeah.
Like yeah, he just sort of palms it off.
The sergeant goes to Tracy and Andy's about Arnold. So he says.
Mm.
Um, Norma's mom bitches a lot. That's
Yeah, she
Norma.
thinks that like the wine bar is like a proper wine bar and it's all classy rather than it just kind of being more of a pub vibe. And like
Yeah.
is like outraged that Norma is like serving and all that sort of jazz. So just dumb stuff. Dumb like haughty parent stuff.
Norma says there's not enough room for the three of them. Marilyn busts Michael for looking for something. Michael's looking for something in their room. Looking a little suspicious again. Couldn't find anything, and then they play around, running around or whatever. And I think she's in a towel or something. And then like
Yeah,
Daddy and Mommy come home, and Daddy kind of goes off like, "What is happening here?"
yeah.
Um, Norma's mom doesn't like Dudley. Um, I don't really know why. I guess He's trying to like charm her, and she's just not having
She's not having charm from nobody at the moment.
it. No, it's very bitchy. Um, mommy, oh, mommy wants a grandbaby. Mrs. Bullock calls, confirming what Daddy said. So now mommy's like happy about it. She didn't believe
Yeah.
anybody else, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Marilyn
Oh, by
and
the way, where Mrs. Bullock was, by the way, was my town.
oh, really?
Yeah, that's where I live.
Oh, yeah, they did. She did say
Yeah.
Queensland, right?
Well, she didn't
I
know.
didn't
She
even.
That's the state. She actually mentioned the place, the city that I live in.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm not
I
gonna
guess
do.
I didn't
Yeah.
hear that part.
Yeah. Like I'm not gonna do
Um,
that here. But yes.
so we're at the laundromat. Marilyn hears some kind of thumping noise and gets attacked. That's all I got for that.
Yeah, so like Marilyn's in the was it the laundromat and she's studying and I think everybody's sort of like what was the party over? I can't remember what it was because they
What
were
party?
holding they had a get together.
Uh, I guess it wasn't
Oh,
really for anything.
yeah, no, that's fair enough. No, no, no. I think I might have been thinking of earlier episodes even or confusing it. But anyways, yeah, no. So Marilyn's in
It's
there
fine.
studying and stuff like that. And oh no,
Yeah.
I think they're just in the pub. I'm an idiot. Never mind.
Yeah, they're always just
Um,
at the bar chilling.
yeah. So yeah, Marilyn's just sitting there chilling out studying, and you hear the scary stomp and like the little, horror movie moments, and you're like, gloved
She
hand.
did say she did say it's you too, didn't she? She's like, it's
Yeah,
you.
she's like, oh my God, it's you, like the classic line, and then she screams, and we cut to the credits. So
Right.
yeah.
So I would have liked for once to show the face of the person in this, because then that would have been a little bit more cliffhangery, I feel like, you know?
Well,
I mean,
it's
I
just
get
the
it.
fact that like it's the first time we've actually seen anything of the killer, really, like a gloved hand with the
Right,
pantyhose sort of
right.
taught, blah blah blah. It just would have been like the cliffhanger for the week or something. So when you watched on the Monday,
And
or
honestly, like
something like that.
it wrapped up a little too fast for me. Like I feel like like again, like it was just like if you blink, you miss it. Like it was just like so episode 680, it opens with that scene again, and then you see that it's Tracy, and it's like and everything just happens so quick, and I'm just like, but like I don't even have time to register. It's just
All
like
right,
over.
all right. So what parts?
So
Okay, so how do you want to go over it? Because a lot does kind of happen in this one.
well, it does. So I have Tracy's like attacking her. The sergeant and Michael are involved, and they just like grab her, but I honestly couldn't see what was happening. It was so fast.
So yeah, Michael comes in to grab her, and the cops and the sergeant come in and sort of like pull her out. So they pull Tracy out. Michael goes in and grabs Marilyn.
Okay, yeah, I saw it just was like so fast for me. And then we have like the next scene was like I think Don comes in with Marilyn. Um, and I guess that's it. Everyone was so happy. Oh, this is Tracy we get to see. Everyone was so happy, she said, so she just killed them because of
So
that.
it, it is, in a nutshell, it's because of that. But so what we find out is that Tracy is basically a psychopath and a masochist. So she doesn't
Yes.
really need a reason. She doesn't really need a reason. Her happiness is derived from hurting others and being a miserable bitch, essentially. So we see little traits of this
Yeah.
throughout Tracy's entire run on this show. She's
Mm,
always dropping these little hints and these little taboos or secrets that people aren't supposed to know. She does it multiple times or by accident, and you're like, oh, it's put off as like an accidental slip of the tongue. She does it constantly.
yeah.
Um, what was it? Uh, it's simply because they can be happy and she can't really, because her type of happiness is, as she puts it, hard to come by. So her
Yeah.
reasoning isn't really anything logical. She just hates them and doesn't want people to be happy. Well, because she can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just deranged. And we find out that the reason why her husband had an alcohol problem is because he pretty much had to be drunk in order to, like, indulge her fetishes and stuff, because he wants her to really hurt her. And obviously, we see
Mm,
that scene where they were having sex and he's like smacking her in the back and everything.
right.
What else? The first victim was pretty much because she was happy. Like, it was a hairdresser, that the first one that we didn't see, but like we hear about in the very
Yeah.
first sort of part of the arc. She's happy talking about her marriage and everything, and Tracy basically took it as like this weird smug bragging essentially and got pissed off about it. So she ended up like hanging out with her, or like, yeah, and then ended up attacking her and killing her. And she's not sorry. She liked doing it, like all
Yeah.
of that sort of stuff. And yeah,
And what was Lorelai? I honestly forget why she was happy. Was she what
um,
I forget
I
what her
think
situation was.
it was that bloody millionaire dude. She had all these options, and she was like feeling happy about what, like, the future and everything, and like that millionaire was offering to take her on that world around the world cruise
Uh
sail thing or whatever. We heard
oh,
about it.
right. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It was like all that sort of stuff. All the girls that have died have been either getting married, going for like stepping up in life. They do say, was it? They do point out that like Patty was talking about how happy she was with Arnold and everything, but a lot of that had to do with like the job that they were coming up for.
Yeah, yeah. Because Patty didn't get happy until like the last minute
Yeah, and yeah,
because they
until
were
sort of
like
like
kind of
Arnold.
miserable. So, but she does say that she's sorry for losing control. I guess because she usually has control of herself, but for some reason she doesn't. She's like, I'm sorry for that, but I'm not sorry for the other things that I did.
Yeah, so she's like, and she sort of apologizes to, like, says that she's like made a mistake as well about confession, because like they're getting it all too easily. Like, she actually wants them to like essentially brutalize her to get the information out of her.
Yeah, which was really weird.
Well,
Um,
she's a masochist, so
Daddy and Mommy get frisky. Um,
yeah.
Mar Marilyn and Michael come home and they tell them about the situation, and Mommy passes out when
Yeah.
she found out that Marilyn was attacked. Um, we find out Tracy was jealous of happiness. She likes physical pain and torture. Tracy tries to run out, basically wanting to get herself hurt.
Yeah.
Um, Daddy is mad Marilyn was used as a pawn, which I feel like was she? I guess she was. Well, no,
So
yeah. Well,
the
they
way
were
they
like
set it
following
up,
her.
okay, so the way they set it up is they had already suspected Tracy might be, but they had to like double check some of her stories and stuff like that. Um, the poisoning was probably the biggest thing, because she had lunch with Vera earlier that day and they were drinking, I think, tea or coffee.
Yeah,
And Vera doubles over and is poisoned by the end of that episode. Um, what was
that's
it?
when I
Vera,
was like, that's when I was officially new myself because I was paying attention to Tracy since I suspected her. So
yeah,
I knew it.
Tracy lived with Patty. And after Les, I think, lost his key or whatever, double was made, so she had access through the Whitaker pub, and obviously their flat themselves, which is where Lorelei was found. Um, Tracy's obviously herself to make herself look innocent, so she obviously choked
Right.
herself out to,
Which is when I
you know,
knew it was her.
yeah. And what was it? The police. What was the uh, Andy also sort of went to the police after, like, within the last, at least within that scene where he was with
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yeah, because she started requesting the same sort of things as far as violence goes in during sex. And so he went and asked her husband about it, and that's when we find out that the husband isn't really abusive; she's a freak. And
Yeah.
yeah, what else? There was another bit. I'm fairly certain. I think it was like after the police also checked out Tracy's alibis. She was gone at particular periods for a bit longer than normal. So like
Yeah, yeah.
on the night of the
Which
hospital ball, it was she went to make a phone call, but was gone for like half an
for
hour.
a half
You
hour,
know,
she took a cab to somebody's place and killed them. I think it was to Lorelai.
yeah, yeah. So they just
That's
sort of
when she
followed the
killed her.
trail, and it took them a while,
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um, Michael gives Marilyn a ring. Apparently, that's what he was looking for, like to get her ring measurement or something. Um, when he was looking suspicious.
yeah,
Um, I put Dudley and Carol talk keys because they mentioned
yeah,
the whole key situation, which
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm so confused with that. Don pops pills,
Yes, we see that at the end of that episode, or towards the end of that
so
episode.
yeah, I'm guessing something's going on with that in the future. Tracy pops back up in Andy's apartment or hers.
Yes. So Tracy went to be for a court appearance, and through the kerfuffle of
Yeah.
the reporters and everything, and when the police pushed her out of the way of them and stuff, she's kind of slipped in through the crowd and down the
But
side stairwell. Yeah, and
this
skedaddled.
is what upset me about it though, because I'm like, it would have been cooler to have her come back later, and do this other story. But I guess I'm so used to like longer storylines where this is just like we're done.
Yeah.
Like
So
this
she
is
comes
over.
back. Yeah, and she comes back. And I think they were also playing her too. Like at that point, she's in the kind of mania of it all. Like she's G'd up. She was going to court. She's in the mania of it all because even Andy's like going to light a cigarette, and he turns. He's like, "Oh, you hear?" Like he's actually legitimately like. I like the way the actor did that. He looked actually put off. He's like, "Oh crap!" Like she's right there, you know.
Right.
And
And I guess they've had her for a little bit now, because like we say, the series moves so fast. It could have been like a day or two, because if she's going to court already, that
Oh no, like something like that, she could it would just be her first court appearance for being charged. So it'd be like where they're gonna formally like, hold like decide what they're gonna do for her until they actually put her through the system.
okay. So it could
Yeah.
have been that quick.
Yeah, because it was only like the day
Um,
later.
he basically tells her what he wants or what she wants to hear. And then
Yeah,
he
that they're
calls
gonna
the
go on the
cops when
lam
she's
together and all that.
yeah. He calls the cops when she's asleep in the other room, and then like you see the door open. I was
Yeah, she
so
sort of
hoping I was hoping she would attack him. See, like this part, I like. I don't know. I wanted more out of this, and I didn't get it. That's my only upset.
so he basically
Um,
talks her down to the point where she's like passed out and crashed out on the bed. And he goes over to call the coppers in the main room, and she's like spying from behind the door, and he's like, nah, she's not going to wait, you got to get here now, sort of thing. And then we hear this crash, and he runs through the bedroom, and there's a broken bedroom window, and Tracy has
yeah,
thrown herself from the well, because he's staying with Vera, that's the top floor.
right.
So, and she's crashed
And
through,
she's
but
dead.
she just on a side note, it looks like she crashed through the table, out either out front of the park. I thought the table was at the front of the delicatessen, but there were chairs and everything. So, and everybody was out front of the pub. Sorry, everybody was
Oh, was
in
it
the
at the
pub.
pub?
So
Right,
yeah, so
right.
everybody was in the pub, but you see them all crowd around her body as she's all like smashed up. And
Yeah,
there's like those white table and chairs that are usually at the front of the delicatessen. So I don't know. But either way, Tracy is dead as shit.
yeah. Which was sad for me because I like a crazy person to hang around for a little bit, but no, we don't have that in this. So hence what I was talking about. I looked her up as since we won't have her anymore. So she's still kicking as well, and she's still active apparently. Her name is Chantal Contori. She's 74 years old. Played Tracy. I didn't get how many episodes she was in, but I guess she was only in this storyline, or was she on before?
I think
Probably
she
on
was in
before.
I think she had come in not long before those episodes
Before
started, but it hadn't been that long because she was still
she's been
talking about her husband and she'd only just started seeing Andy.
she's been active from 63 to present. Her last movie was a movie called Storm Boy in 2019. Her first
Wow.
feature film was Alvin Rides Again in 1974. She also has a pretty decent soap history, but not too long. She always makes like it looks like she likes to make small stints on soaps.
Yeah.
She was in General Hospital in 1988 as Prunella, and I believe I know what storyline that is, but I didn't see it, so I'll have to keep an eye
Yeah.
out. She was also in Neighbors in 1992 and East Street as Julia in 1992 as well. So she probably had small stints on both of
Oh,
those.
I know that one. I know Julia. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I remember that one.
Yeah. So, and that's my little Tracy tidbit since we won't, I won't bring her up again since she's dead to us.
Yes.
But I did like it. I unfortunately, I guess from so many soaps watching, and I just figured it was her because she didn't die when she was strangled, and I'm like, that's usually the case, like I don't usually fall for that trick, and I
Yeah.
didn't. But but it was good. It was fun. I like the
I sort of
show, so
I sort of figured it out myself when I first watched it. I was like more interested in like the reasoning, and then the fact that there wasn't really a
right,
reason in the way they explained it. I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of dark. She's just a mental case. It's not some
right.
big
I
elaborate
mean,
scheme to like blackmail
yeah,
or get out a fortune or like to put people on a friggin' island. She's just a
right.
psycho and she wants to hurt people.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the reason, though. That's her reason,
I
so
mean,
it makes
yeah, you know
sense.
what I mean, though. But like with soapies, it's always so
Right.
convoluted and like it leads to something else. And I mean, not to say that this doesn't, but I just mean in a, you know what I mean, like in terms of the
I don't.
scheme. You know?
I feel the same. I feel that Andre on Days is similar because he
Mm.
just likes to wreak havoc and he gets off on it. Because why
Yeah,
else
he
would he
does.
do
He
it?
is. Yeah, no,
So
that's
he,
true.
you know, like he doesn't have a really good reason. He just,
I love Andre. Well, I love Taylor Pinglis. So like, I'm not gonna lie, Tony and
yeah,
Andre, I love both of them. And
right.
where I'm up to, it's all just come out where like he's been impersonating Tony since like the early '90s. I was like, I love this.
I know. It's so confusing though. So he was Tony,
Oh
like, so when was he Tony? Like, when was Tony last seen? In the 80s, I guess?
yeah, I think that's basically what it made it sound like in these episodes that he'd basically been impersonating him. What they said for like 20, 22 years or something, some nonsense number like that. So that would put it at like the early '90s if I'm watching stuff from '07. So
It's so confusing. Anyway, that's
yeah,
Kate. But I said that, so that's it for our number 96.
the pantyhose
Pantyhose
strangler.
Strangler. We'll bring you the aftermath eventually. I think we're gonna start another one. We're gonna take a break from number 96 probably till like the fall maybe. Or whenever we finish the next one.
Yeah. Well, there's
Um,
two. There's number 96. There's still two arcs, and then obviously that finale special I mentioned, which was sort of more. It just sort of has the actors kind of summarizing the last little while of the show, so you do get sort of
yeah,
resolution
that's
for
cool.
the cat. Yeah. So like, and
I
they
like
do
that
show.
stuff.
From what I remember, they do show decent scenes of what they're talking about. So yeah, so like how the show actually ended on its last few episodes, they showed. I'm pretty sure they showed like decent chunks of the
Mm.
episodes.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd have to remember. It's been a long time since I watched that one, so yeah.
Right, right. All right, well, thanks for tuning in to Queers and Soaps. We'll bring you more number 96 eventually. We'll get you another Australian soapy coming
This one is
soon.
will be a prime time one. So, but we'll get into that next time.
All right. Follow us on all the socials and subscribe, like, and comment, and let us know if you want us to do anything else. And have a good night, everyone.
See you guys.